Welcome to the Resilient Woman Leadership Podcast, where professionally minded women explore the art of grounding into the powerful foundation that makes us resilient leaders in business and in life. I'm your host, Kathryn Regganie, and I believe that when we women connect deeply with our truest selves, we can collectively shift our leadership culture towards compassion, cohesion, and true creativity. Hello and welcome. Today I am so excited to introduce Dr. Sage Breslin. She has a BA in behavioral psychology from the University of California at San Diego and an MA and PhD in counseling psychology from Northwestern University. She is also certified in Dr. Herb Benson in mind-body medicine at Harvard Medical Center. Dr. Breslin is a breakthrough and transformational coach, a trauma psychologist and motivational speaker, a screenwriter, and a best-selling author. While her colorful life has imbued her with the perspective and insight, Dr. Breslin acknowledges that true wisdom is gained through collective conscious community. Her most recent book takes an even deeper dive into enabling conscious leaders to break through cognition, emotional and energetic barriers to achieve authentic, empowered leadership. I'm so happy to have you. Welcome, Sage.
Thank you so much. It was a joy and pleasure to be speaking with you.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about your journey, Sage. I know you've had quite an experience here on the planet. And so tell me about what brought you to this specialty.
Sure. I think a lot of people who know me and know me by reputation know me as a trauma psychologist. And I did that for 25 years. I loved every minute of it. But, I think it's a little bit like orthopedic surgery. It is a young person's game. I mean, you've got to have the wisdom and the training, but it's heavy lifting. And after 25 years of doing that, I, unbeknownst to me, had started to become ill with cancer. And I thought, okay, I'm not feeling quite as good as I thought, am I having a problem with aging? Is it because I have 5 kids? Am I working too much? And I didn't know. So I thought, okay, how can I pivot a little bit so that I can do work that I love that incorporates all of what I do, but not quite as intense. So I shifted gears and transitioned into working primarily into leadership development and personal development. And what's funny is, it really was a lot of trauma psychology, but done in a more sort of intense little encapsulations. And then when I discovered, in fact, that I had bone marrow cancer, my whole world really turned around. So we did the pandemic, and by then I was already sick, but I was poking along, okay. And pandemic, I shifted gears to working 6 days a week. And I became really deathly ill and ended up having a bone marrow transplant. And then everything kind of shifted gears for me. I had been divorced many years by then, but I was still feeling these sort of, I hate to use the word attachments because it sounds like I wanted them, like I could feel these sort of weird attachments still. And try as I might, I just couldn't get myself clear. And while I was in the hospital, I was there 3.5 weeks. And while I was there, all you can do after a bone marrow transplant is think. There's not a lot of moving around. There's a lot of pain. It's just hard. Mm-hmm. And I really had the come to Jesus meeting of all time while I was in there. And the woman in the next door room died. So everything became just crystal clear to me that I had to change my life, that I had missed something. And I'm pretty thorough. I've done a lot of therapy, I've done a lot of experiential work, trained as a shaman, like done all these things, but I knew I'd missed something. And as I came through and as I regained my wellness to the degree that I could, um, I started to have downloads during my meditations that were nothing short of magnificent. And what I came through in my own personal experience as a woman who'd been in repeated toxic relationships and traumatic circumstances was an insight bar none. Like I saw it down to the brass tacks, and I was able to look at my life and say, oh, well, there's a few pieces I missed. And I was just really directed to try out these sort of new tools on myself. And as I did, I could feel like things just dropping away from me. And the more I did, the clearer I felt, the healthier I got. I'm in remission, a full remission now, and they said it couldn't be done. Um, you know, and I
They didn't talk to you first, huh?
apparently, apparently they didn't talk to my old soul. They may have
Yeah.
talked to the human part, but the meat suit may have been, on board with that. But my old soul said, I don't think so. And, as I came through the other side, I realized this is my passion. I I understood this 10-step process and I thought, "Uh, this isn't just for me. I can share this with other women like myself, high achieving, spiritually driven professional women. I can do this." And as I did it, I started getting these rock star responses that, I'm good. And I don't, it's not vain to say I was very successful in what I did. But once I really incorporated an entirely different approach, it was like magic.
Yeah.
So now I can't imagine doing anything else. I mean, I have a few people that I've continued with, but largely this is the work that I do and love. So it was driven by my own process, all the different shifts and changes in my career. It was
Yeah, that's
driven
fantastic.
by my personal process.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like who you're serving now. I know it's professional women, but let's get into that a little bit. Who are you serving? And then you're talking about this 11-step process. But can you tell us like a little bit about the stages of that process and what does all of that entail?
Sure, sure. So, as I said, I really primarily work with high achieving, often high profile, and spiritually driven women who have noticed they're kind of off their game, that they may kind of feel like they're missing their mojo. Um, and I would say consistently that's because they've been in or around toxic people, toxic bosses, toxic lovers, toxic family members, and they just don't realize that that has left a huge impact on them. And how we deal with that is different than, say, having a depression episode or having anxiety or PTSD. It's a it's an entirely different approach. So those are the women that I would say I'm really devoted to. Um, Not only because the rose system works and it works especially well with those women, but I am so much a fan now of the one to many. I love working with women in leadership because, if you're not just affecting them and their family, then it's a team. And if it's a bigger company, it's a team upon team upon team. And I love that. I love that because the trickle down effect is big and it can really change the culture of a company or an organization.
Right, which I think is where a lot of people like you and we're just trying to change that whole adrenaline fueled boys club mentality. It doesn't have to be that way. We can be compassionate, we can be collaborative and really move things forward in more of a team collaboration
Yeah.
sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say I was on a call earlier, and the woman I was speaking with was kind of a classic type A. I mean, she was self-identifying that way. And I said, well, that doesn't mean you're not an old soul. It just maybe says something about the archetype you have. And she said, well, how is that possible? Like, I like this, go, 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 competition. And I said, I'm not asking you to do that any differently, except I would rather you retire your meat suit and put your old soul back in charge, because that's a source of eternal fuel. Right now, you are burning your way. You don't have enough testosterone for this, right? We women, we have estrogen. Well, some of us at my age don't have so much of any of that, but we don't, I mean, even the younger set, like they don't have the level of testosterone that would fuel that kind of activity. It's just a biochemical issue.
Right.
So they burn themselves out. They burn out their adrenals, until they drop or until they, get cancer or whatever.
Yeah.
So, really trying to look at women who are even who love that go, 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 just teaching them, okay, that's fine, but we need to do some work to actually get your old soul back in the driver's seat instead of relying on this very finite human energy that you've been accessing and bleeding dry.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Getting in touch with that old soul that has the information, has the knowledge, and has the energy, where our meat suits here on this planet are, they're limited. They can only take
Absolutely.
so much, and then they start to fall apart. And we
Right.
wonder,
That's a dust to dust thing, man. It doesn't mean you don't have to be religious, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
true. Like they're just not made to last forever. But
right,
the energy, and even if you look at the research, the energy when we die, that energy moves on. There
yeah,
is something very, very different about, who we are, animate versus inanimate, and it's measurable. There's something too very unique to the energy that we hold, and the energy of the soul, if you will. It's just tapping into the infinite, right? So it does allow us a much different presence. It allows us a much different passion and a much much different power. So some women will say easily, oh yeah, people have told me that before, or they'll say, like I've referred to myself that way before. And I love that. Then that's simple math when we're talking. But I say I'm like the woman I talked to today. I think she may have never thought of herself as an old soul. And in many ways, it's why I did the Old Soul Woman quiz. It's, why I developed it, because when women, answer the 8 or 9 questions, it's very brief. They're able to see the archetype or the profile that they have. And as I'm able to offer that to them, they see it in themselves. Then they say, oh my God, I am such a harmonizer. That is so true. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that that would have an impact on how I do my job, or how I bond with my mate in a relationship, or how I raise my children, or any of the list of 1,000 things that we are and we do in our lives. So it's made it much easier. It's like having shorthand. So
oh
once
yeah,
they know, oh, this is my profile, this is the old soul we're talking about,
yeah,
then it really is so much easier with that shorthand in place to move them through the steps of, and I won't go through all 10, but the basic steps are, we have to identify what's happened to them. You
yeah.
know, when women have been in toxic circumstances or relationships, especially old soul women, they often don't recognize it. It just, I mean, we're so great at being energizer bunnies that we don't realize when we're not just serving someone, but we're over serving them, that they are soul sucking, that they are,
Right.
like tentacles onto, of an octopus onto us and just bleeding us dry, because they don't have the power source. I mean, narcissists, folks with borderline, sociopaths, they don't have their own source of power. They have to go and feed off another person. So, and of course, the old soul woman, there's no better food, right? There's no better fuel. We are it. We're supreme or premium or whatever that thing is at the gas station.
Yeah,
We're,
yeah.
we're definitely the spiritual version of that. So, you know, unfortunately, we old souls often don't notice when it's happening, and we begin to sort of give ourselves away, and we lose ourselves in the sort of manipulative drama that they do. And God love them, they do it so that we get hooked. I
Right,
mean, there's nothing, it's not personal. They have
right,
a need. This is how they serve the need. This is how they do it. And unfortunately, we're more oriented to serving and uplifting and healing, and um, we just don't see it until it's too late.
right.
Generally speaking, though, when we sense what's happened, we tend to put our old souls in the vault. Like, nobody can take my light from me. I'd
Hmm.
say a lot of the time it's not conscious that we do it, but once we put it in the vault, an unfortunate thing happens. We no longer have our sense of self. We no longer have a connection to our power source, and we begin to burn out and, deplete very, very rapidly. And
Yeah,
that can be the death of us if we don't stop it. So that first step is really about identifying what has happened, um, what are the impacts, um, and again, the ownership of that. It's okay. People say like, oh, don't get attached to your story. Okay, well, in this process, it's important initially to own it. Yes, it really did happen. That person really came in and tried to suck you dry. That
yeah.
person lit a match on your life. I mean, I know for me, like, I used to have savings and a retirement fund, and all of that just went away while I was mesmerized and while I was burning out and depleting more and more and more. And when I came to, I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do to save myself and my children? And how am I going to afford to do anything? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so it really is that first part, really gleaning and identifying everything that's happened. The second part is really tracking it, really assessing the roots to it all. And then the third part is really cutting those roots, those anchors, those tethers, those ties, those cords, whatever you want to call them, and ensuring that they're yanked out as far back as they go, whether it's in
mm,
this lifetime or one's past.
yeah,
And once we've done that, we reseed the soul. So we take that old soul, we put her back in the driver's seat, and we activate her through vibration, sound bath, sound healing, and we restore the voice of the old soul so that the woman that we are can now begin to revision. That's the next step. Her future with her old soul back in the driver's seat.
yeah.
And, the final connections are all about community, about seeing our place in community, whether we are ourselves taking a place of leadership, whether we're mentoring, um, whether we're serving, uplifting, healing, whatever it is, and really ensuring that there is the sort of support of the community at whatever level needs to be there. So it is not only engaging the connection because we do that from the get-go, it's ensuring that the connection will never be broken. So that's a little bit of a map of what we do.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that too because you were talking about sort of, what you're bringing from this life and potentially past lives, and the thought and idea came to me about ancestral,
Yeah, like multi-generational trauma and
multi-generational trauma, and you have what is it, four, six something from the past, and you affect four to six
yeah,
going into the future. So really taking that time to stop and heal, like we were talking about before, heal your own shit first.
yes,
You can really affect generations
yes,
which is really, really quite powerful. That might be a little bit woo-woo for some of our listeners, but I
Yeah,
think it's
maybe that's what they need.
maybe that's what they need exactly. But I really like the perspective that you're bringing here of that old soul energy, that that's part of who we are and part of who we've always been, and we can tap into that knowledge base and that energy source so that we're not wearing ourselves out.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and making ourselves sick
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah, indeed.
So thank you so much for that. So Sage, if people want to learn a little bit more about what you do and how to get in touch with you, how can we do that?
So we've got some fun things in the works right now. My website that kind of shows everything that I do is sagebreslin.com. If they want to go on there and click Rose System, they'll see that. Click anything else, it'll give them all the information. If they want to contact me or even schedule with me, they can access all of that there. Um, I am hoping by the end of the month, the rosesystem.com will actually be in place. So for people who know, okay, I am this person, I am this ideal client, this is
Yeah.
what I need. How can I go about that? That website will just be devoted to that information and that team. And really, excited to have that up and running so that folks who, don't want to be distracted by any of the other options will just be able to focus on this one. And then the Sage Wisdom Institute, which is our larger company, is now a membership site. So if people want to go and, for instance, I have a self-paced leadership transformation course. I have a leadership transformation mastermind. I have the Rose System is also on there. And then I have an inspirational membership called the Daily Pearls, and it will send you an email every morning to start your day with a quote and a musing or meditation, a story, something to just give you a little direction or mentorship for the day. And that's just like slightly more than $1 a day. So a very affordable way to, get your feet in the water and get going if you're somebody that's not sure about coaching or therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so a little bit of everything. So all of those things have contact me on them. So they can find me just by my name at sagebreslin.com. Like I said, end of the month, hopefully the rosesystem.com will be live for everyone. And
Excellent.
then sagewisdominstitute.com for any of the sort of purchasey kind of things.
Purchasey things. Yeah. And this will all be in the show notes as well. So,
Great.
yep, if you're driving and you didn't get all that, you can come back to the show notes. Well, thank you so much, Sage, for coming and talking with me today. I really appreciate it. And I love your energy.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's my pleasure. And I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to the Resilient Woman Leadership Podcast. Remember to take my Dragon Woman quiz at dragonwomanquiz.com. In just 2 minutes, this fun quiz will reveal your Dragon Woman and connect you to the resources so that you can leverage her power for good. And if you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe now so you can hear more inspiring stories from other resilient wise women who will uplift and inspire you. Your review really matters to me, so please gift me back by reviewing this episode. Want more, Kathryn? You can find me at energy-pathways.com.